benefit. And it wasn't the common public benefit until the 1980s.
Wow,
Are we
didn't know
like
I mean,
that?
you
that.
might be
Yeah.
right, but that's
Yeah.
not how it
So
works
every
right now.
corporation, no, how it works right now is the same way, right? If you listen to Mark
No, it's
Andreessen
not.
talk about running a company, he'll tell you every
I have my own
CEO is
company.
out there,
I've
right?
started
Well,
my own
you're a petite,
corporation.
you're a little guy, you're a little guy. This I'm talking about real companies. Real companies, big CEOs aren't worried about making all this money first and foremost. Instead, to themselves, they tell the story that they're trying to be good people with maximizing profit at number 3, 4, maybe 5 on the list, according to Mark Andreessen. Now, is that really the situation? Well, all these rich Silicon Valley CEOs are living in California on purpose. They can move anywhere they want. They choose to be taxed more because they recognize the cost of a society that has enabled their immense wealth is that taxation. So they recognize the value of having been taxed and the value of contributing to their society. The vast majority of people who are CEOs are not yet that the Wolf of Wall Street suspender wearing jerks. In fact,
Hmm.
they would like to think of themselves as good people that do good things through their company to make a great product and in the world as a whole. Where when they pass on, yeah, they'll leave some to their children, but most will go to charity. And this is the Carnegie Gospel of Wealth. That's how
I mean, I,
most people at
I
the top
definitely
see
don't think
themselves.
you're. I don't necessarily think you're wrong, but I think that's kind of missing the original point, which was how do I reconcile a real world right now that
Hmm.
is axing things like DEI, axing
Yeah.
things like XYZ program, and I'm saying in response to that, not a big thing about philosophy of every CEO, is to just
Hmm.
recognize a company for what it is. The company feels as if at this point in time, DI programs being for this, for that, for another, is not in line with their ultimate purpose, which is to turn a profit. And if it was
Their,
profitable for them to
their,
do so, and they
again, their
felt it was
ultimate
profitable for
purpose
them to
is
do so, they would have.
not
You
to
don't have
turn a
to
profit.
interrupt. I'm not done. If they
No, I
felt as if
did.
it
It's
was
because you got
profitable to
something
do
wrong,
so,
so I'm correcting you.
uh,
That's why I interrupted.
no worries. Have a
Yeah,
good one, man.
Oh,
yeah.
he's,
But wait,
oh, he went
even if you
out.
grant his premise, can't you still doesn't it still mean that boycotting is good? If their objective is to maximize profit and you want one behavior from them, then you
But
boycott
their
it
their
until
their
they
objective isn't to maximize profit.
Mhm. Be
It's
good.
to maintain legitimacy, for example.
Hmm.
So if you're in a culture that says DEI makes you a legitimate company, then you have DEI, whether or not it costs you money. If you're in a culture that says anti DEI is what's appropriate, you get rid of DEI. This is why there's no economic value to having a massive collection of art. And yet, when you walk into the John Deere lobby, there's a massive collection of expensive art on the walls. Companies are not rational profit maximizing systems. Companies exist as traditional social forms that act like one another and act like powerful entities from the past. They act like lords. That's what they've always been, it's what they continue to do. The same thing with the value of any job. You could say that there's a market clearing equilibrium for a particular job, and being a doctor is hard, and being a ditch digger is easy. Except they go out and make sure there aren't enough doctors by limiting how many can be a doctor. And they go out and they make sure that if ditch digger goes up in price, they get more people to come dig ditches. So the whole system is based on tradition and our moral sentiments of what's good and bad. So I'm not going to grant this idea. By the way, the guy's name was taxation is theft.
Yeah, I saw that.
Right. So no, I'm not going to grant his initial false premise because it is the false premise that economists start with to justify exactly what you're saying, recruit. Uh, well, we just do whatever's profitable here, so boycotts will work. No. As a consumer advocate, you're not going to make a difference unless you get a lot of people all at once to make a big noise about one company at a time, perhaps scaring other companies. So, for example, Nike used to run it still does. It externalizes its making of shoes. Well, it didn't pay attention to the glue that was used in its factories. It paid attention to the fact that the glue was used and what glue it was and exactly how to make the sole and how to get it applied, but not requiring air vents. They also didn't require that the managers be taught not to sexually assault their workers. So these girls would come in Vietnam, they'd be raped, impregnated, they'd go home and they'd give birth to a baby with a birth defect because they were fired for getting pregnant. And that was Nike's fault. Even though it was an outsourcing thing, by the 1990s, we decided, you know what? If they have that much control, they can also stop these people from making it a regular part of the job that they're getting raped and sending babies out to have birth defects. And people got really angry at Nike specifically, and Nike lost a lot of market share. So that kind of focused boycott can make a difference. But I think the question that kicked us off was, well, with everyone killing DEI, I mean, who do you cancel, right? And I would suggest Elon Musk because he's got a Nazi problem.
Yep.
Yes.
It's
Some more
the
news
problem
didn't.
is he is one.
Yeah. Some more news did this expose called Elon Musk has a Nazi problem. It's an hour and a half long, okay? They put it up 9 months ago.
The vindication must feel so good.
Yeah, I do agree that quiet boycotts among groups do not work. You have to do loud shaming on social media, or else nobody is gonna follow it, and it's just a drop in the bucket for them. They don't give a shit. So it has to become like a literal social movement, and that doesn't happen when it's like, oh, my small little group is organizing a boycott.
Yeah. But to answer the question, what's the ultimate purpose of a company? The people there want the company to survive. Every bureaucratic form's goal is survival and growth. What you're taught as a business school student is, it's the net present value of all future cash flows and maximizing shareholder profit. But that's just not true. It's not how anything works. And it's just the story that's told to justify doing traditional things. So yeah, that's how you boycott.
I mean, it seems disgusting. It should be, hey, what is the reason for your company existing? It should be to provide a product or service that the customer wants, and also to keep employees employed comfortably, with benefits to them and things like that. And it's like, that's not even close to what business is today. It should be, but it's not.
I think to add to that as well, I feel like as a company entity, and maybe that extends to the CEO as well, I think they should be apolitical when it comes to that. I don't feel like DEI falls under that umbrella. I feel like that kind of is just it should be a given that we shouldn't discriminate based on any of those factors. So
So you're anti-DEI then?
No, I feel like I'm pro DEI, but I'm against them as a company taking a stance like, oh, we'll start selling. The CEO supports this guy or endorses this guy. I feel like as a company, if you wanted to survive, why would you alienate half of your base by picking one candidate or the other, or donating towards a certain candidate? That doesn't make sense to me.
I don't know.
I agree. I don't understand it either.
I would make an exception for things that are directly banned or disapproved by the other party. Like, my work is in the clean energy sector, kind of. And basically, our bosses basically went, thanks to the Infrastructure Act, we have a ton of income to do a bunch of expansion. And it's like, yeah, we know that under certain, being a green company, in the energy sector is going to be different under different administrations. Like, we'll get different benefits. And I'm sure that is the same
agree.
for other companies that are like,
Yeah, but let's. When you think about Target, for example, Target is one of the companies that I think did this. You have to wonder, like, if Target like didn't say anything, then things would run as usual. Are more conservatives gonna shop at Target now? Or are they gonna resume shopping at Target?
they're probably
because
not
they
going to
thought they had
bitch
a
at
DEI
Target as
problem?
much. Because,
Were they?
Yes. Do you
Yeah, but
remember
low
the
rise section.
Maybe I
Yep.
just
dumb
didn't.
rap
Maybe I
video
just
that
don't know
conservatives
anything about
made
this.
about
I don't watch them.
yes, conservatives
they
were
were-
very angry at Target for
Angry at Target.
having
Oh, I see.
Underwear
Having a
that
pride
touch your
display.
penis.
Okay, I get it now.
Yeah.
I get it now.
They issued death
I
threats
understand
to employees of Target unless they removed like all Pride like merchandise displays and stuff.
There's
it was
underwear
crazy.
that tucks in your penis. Hold on.
Yes.
Quick Google. Hold on.
Amazon.
Oh,
No,
okay,
it's-
I get it now. I didn't know it was a problem. I felt like it was like an unnecessary statement, but I see.
That's
see
how
why they would
good
have
the
done
right
that
wing
now.
is at brainwashing people, because they literally, like, the right wing literally made this into an issue and attacked anybody who didn't hate the gays. Like, you know, we're supposed to hate the gays, but somehow they managed to make a lot of people like you, Recruit, believe that this was coming from the other side, that it was the LGBT community that was shoving things in people's face and doing stuff.
Yeah, they had one small video of Dylan
Um,
Mullaney, or I think that was their name,
I haven't seen
holding a can of Budweiser or whatever it was.
Bud Light.
Bud Light. And then there was literally videos of Kid Rock shooting Bud Light and people just en masse throwing away their Bud Light.
And what's strange, Murkov, is that like having pride displays or like companies and corporations, you know, like celebrating pride, like that's not something that happened like last year. Like companies have been celebrating Pride Month, you know, for years and years.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
and nobody really made a stink out of it until, you know, there was this massive orchestrated effort by the Christian nationalists, you know, to make this an issue.
They made it just like their standard display model of just like, hey, it's June or July. Let's pull out our graduation gear, and then let's also pull out Pride gear and throw that there, or like any holiday type thing. And it's like, it was never to indoctrinate people. It was just, hey, if you want to buy this, buy this.
Well, now they're canceling Black History Month, I think, at all the
Yeah,
federal
that- I saw
agencies,
that.
right?
BLM.
So apparently, you know, it's strange. You know, I'm when I was a kid, like I remember celebrating Black History Month. That was not even controversial, and whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, like everybody that I remember got behind that and had no problem with it.
Well, where I'm from, people just constantly say, "What about White History Month?" And then this is what manufacturing consent is. The so-called left, which are just liberals, which is a center-right group, will say all history is white history, which is one of the most white supremacist things someone can respond. The history of some people being called black and being treated differently can go back to Egypt and interacting with the Arab countries. The history of white people is the 1600s. White people are recently invented, and black people as a subclass, be an underclass or ethnic group in America, starts after white history. So yeah, there needs to be Black History, and it needs to start with White History Day. But most people just think that white people have dominated the earth throughout all of history. That's all the history there is to know, and you're just trying to add history here that doesn't really matter. That's what it's like where I'm from in South Texas.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, going back on that, like, because when I was in the military, one of my extra jobs was to run the equal opportunity program for our company. and a requirement was that we would have some sort of like presentation each quarter on, you know, like Women's History Month or the contributions of people of color or like combating sexual harassment. And believe it or not, like we had those things, but we also had a what was it? We didn't call it white history. We called it I think we called it white American history. And what it was essentially was not, you know, what the white supremacists are trying to do by claiming that, oh, it's really white people that are, you know, being discriminated against. How come we don't, you know, get to celebrate, you know, being white? What it was let's learn about how our great you know, grandparents, you know, may have come over, you know, to Ellis Island as Italians or Irish immigrants or French immigrants, and they had to deal with their own discrimination against other immigrants. You know, Italians need not apply, you know, stuff like that. And city bosses that would, you know, kind of get people together and say, hey, come work for me and I'll give you a place to live. And you don't have to worry about, you know, as much discrimination if you're Irish, you know, from like, you know, Italians that might discriminate against you. And a lot of them sometimes would use iron fist tactics to make sure that they, you know, voted for the city council people that they wanted to. But a lot of these city bosses also provided, you know, security and were popular. And this was part of the struggle of like the ancestors of a lot of white Americans. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't anti, you know, white, and it wasn't like anti-black. It was just, yeah, like this is white is a broad scope that encompasses a lot of different cultures that came over and dealt with their own, you know, issues.
That's true.
Yeah, I learned that Texas was awesome. and at no point in my entire year of Texas history did they tell us that the reason for the Texas Revolution was to maintain slavery. But the one thing that I think we can all agree on is that you were taught wrong. In fact, all white people are the same. Yeah, it would be good. It would be good if we had a multicultural understanding of the world. In fact, this idea that multiple cultural perspectives is inherently like anti-white is correct, because the idea of whiteness is that there isn't a culture. It's just the default of what's the right thing to do.
And that's kind of the point of like what that training was that they weren't, everybody wasn't like considered white coming over here. You know, you had to deal with your own bigotry, or you had to deal with the bigotry of like other groups that are now considered white that weren't, you know, like I think wasn't there a time that Irish immigrants weren't considered white?
Yeah.
So Benjamin Franklin had a great definition of white. People who are English and from the Saxony region of Germany. That's his definition. That's
and
his
everyone
definition
else
of white
was
people.
non-white. I saw that.
Everyone else is not
was
white.
Not considered white. Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like the dirty Scots. There's Welsh. Welsh don't count, right? Obviously not the Irish, and certainly not the French, or those weird Dutch people who just speak in broken English.
But I'm curious because I want to learn more, Dr. Zayas. When I mentioned about all these different immigrants, you know, that came over 150 whatever years ago, that now would be considered, you know, white, even though back then, like they were, you know, considered separate, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. What do you think was, what specifically was wrong? Do you think about the training that they gave me?
Oh, I apologize. When I'm being bitterly ironic, it comes through flat. And I I try and rely on context clues to make it clear. I
Yeah.
actually
Right.
like the training they gave you.
Yeah, he was being sarcastic. I don't know.
Oh,
Yeah.
it was a deadpan. Okay,
Yeah,
I
yes,
no,
that's-
no, not all
completely.
white people are the same. No, he was saying the opposite. One
Yes,
second, I have to
exactly.
get this little
That was
trigger
literally
here.
the whole point of the
One
training
second.
was, hey guys,
Yes.
like we weren't all the same. It's a broad category that we
Yep.
just used today.
That's why I said
actually
you were
didn't
trained
used to be.
wrong and then went to go talk about how I was trained because I was the one that was trained wrong. Yeah.
Isn't it good that
It's a
Texas
really good-
makes the school books usually?
It's a really good thing that there's this board from Texas, mostly evangelical, all white, that makes sure that there aren't bad things in the textbooks that'll confuse the students.
Or make them
Hey,
feel
but-
bad about their ancestry.
Ancestry, that's right.
I said that word way
Joke's
wrong.
on them, students don't read the textbook.
Yeah.
Boom.
And it's too bad that many of these groups that came over and suffered from discrimination, in their own ethnicity, then decided to jump on the bandwagon of white.
that's-
Let's all be white and we can discriminate against, black people over here. and
Literally,
Hispanic
that
over
is
here.
how the Irish became white. They came to Boston, they were treated like an underclass, and then they were given jobs as police to beat down the black community and keep them in their place.
Oh, right.
So they
Jeez.
chose to join complicitly with the white supremacists to have that position.
It's like
A
a white
good-
gang initiation ritual.
What was
It is.
the Italian version of that? What
Except
did,
it's
what did the
legal,
Italians
or-
do?
So there's a good question.
Mm.
And over time, what the
know.
Italians did was they stopped being mafiosos. They were treated as they were black until the large organized crime got integrated into the corporate environment. This is the point of Godfather 3, which was a bad movie, but had a good point. The mafia's gone, and it's really just the corporations, and they really are the mafia. Now, there's certainly still organized crime here and there, but the big power came to be in line with the system of shareholder wealth. And so now people who used to have a lot of wealth get to buy shares in the organized crime action. And so since they're spreading the wealth around to the people who are legitimate, they're legitimate too.
Yep.
I do want to bring up this week about how ICE is going to schools and things like that, and really we should not be complying with anything that they are trying to force on us of like, don't narc on your neighbors kind of thing. And in fact, you should be, not helping them in any way possible. Make sure that they know
You should
that
always-
if you have a family member or a friend or anything who works for ICE, I hate to say shame them, but make it clear that when they say that they're getting rid of only criminals, then why are they going to schools and harassing children and
Right.
trying to trying to they say it's accidental, but they have picked up people who are indigenous people and treated them as if they are illegal immigrants. Yeah, it's a scary time in America right now.
I think my wife was just watching a video about that. That yes, there's a lot of indigenous people that are that have like tribal licenses and tribal identification, and they're not accepting. They're like, no, you're not. I'm like, how do you're not a citizen or you're not an American-born
They're the
citizen? I'm
most
like, what are you talking
American.
about? They're the most American. They're Native American. Like that's the first thing that they say.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of confusion. They also picked up, I think it was an army vet.
Yeah.
I think
Oh, I
that
heard
on
about that.
NPR. He's an army vet. He's like trying to show them, hey, I have my military like paperwork, and they're denying his service. He was held for a couple hours, and he's just like, this is crazy. And I didn't see the guy because I heard it on the radio, but I'll bet my bottom dollar that guy wasn't white. 100%.
Yeah, no, I actually worry about the people who did military service to try and get citizenship. I have a feeling that the current administration is going to try and revoke that. And it's like, these people fought hard, lost limbs, got injuries, got trauma, and still you're not going to allow them to have citizenship? Or, deport their family members? That's disgusting in my view, I hate to do this standard, I am disgusted, but, I mean, there's no way to describe it otherwise, I guess.
I mean, did you hear how the Dear Orange leader regards mixed status families? They asked, I think it was a reporter that asked him, okay, so what happens if you go to a family that some members are mixed status? So some are immigrants, some are legal. What would happen? He's like, oh no, nonchalantly, he's just deport them all. Just gather them up. I don't want to separate them. Just deport them all.
I don't think.
Jesus.
I don't. Let me tell you what I heard, because that.
No, that's
doesn't-
what
Why
I've
don't we
heard.
why don't we pull up the clip? Let's pull up the clip.
Yeah, what clip are you talking about? Is it Trump you're talking
Yeah.
about?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what Trump said is the ones who are here illegally, he would send them home, and if you want to be with your family, then you would go home too. He didn't say that if you're a citizen, he's gonna force you to go home. But it makes sense, right? Like if you have a wife and you're not gonna stay separated from your wife, so if you can
I
go
am.
to
Yeah, absolutely.
You would?
Yeah. Oh, of course, because she's going back to, let's say, Mexico, and then I'm buying her an airplane ticket back.
Oh, okay. I
Right?
get you.
Yeah.
I think my wife would do that with me if we were possible.
But then they're liable
But yeah,
to
he never said
become,
that he's gonna, like,
illegal
force you out.
immigrants
He's gonna say-
themselves or undocumented immigrants themselves, because you can't, if you're not a citizen, you just can't go to your spouse's home country.
Oh yeah, you
work
can't
that
just
way.
go, but
Guys,
the
the
American
truth is,
passport
this is
very powerful.
Scary. They're going to round up people that are here illegally. They're going to round up people that are here illegally because of a law that was changed. They're going to round up people that are here illegally because they canceled one of the amendments by fiat, and then they're going to round up people that are here illegally because they're disabled. When Donald Trump told his followers 7 million people voted illegally, he wasn't telling a lie. A lie is when you say things that people misunderstand, and his followers understood him completely. He's going to have made them illegal for voting. He's going to have made it illegal to be able to do that, and he's going to make it so that they should be deported because they're here illegally, according to the history books that he will have written. That is how despots, totalitarians throughout history have dealt with populism.
Yeah.
There. Trump proposed in an interview aired Sunday that families with mixed immigration status should be deported together, echoing his border czar, Tom Homan.
Okay.
Who is clearly
I'm
an
not believing
alien.
that. That's not what I saw. That's not what I saw.
That's
in
okay.
the
Can you click
interview.
on the blue link?
This one?
I believe Axios. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, is it just Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Good God.
Yeah, there's no...
Oh, well. Look,
Who-
I believe
it was a
Axios-
woman he did an interview with.
Well, that's okay. It doesn't mean that he said...
He
it
says
doesn't mean you're
different
wrong.
things every day.
At
What are you
different
talking
times,
about?
That's right.
Also, he's aiming to end birthright citizenship.
No, he literally committed treason against this nation by writing an executive order that contravenes directly a constitutional amendment. Yeah, it's completely unacceptable.
Yeah.
This is treason. He should be, at very least, in jail for the rest of his life for that alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or at least shamed and he forced to rescind.
Man doesn't own shame.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's true. He is not capable of shame, clearly.
No.
Yeah. Well, we didn't do the whole
By the
thing
way,
today,
if
but-
anyone has a bit, what's with the cutting of some cancer funding? What would be the reason behind that?
What do you think?
I never believe stuff like that. Like the person is just bad.
Oh.
No,
I
no,
can't.
no, no.
Wait,
They
wait.
believe taxation is theft and it's part of
Mhm.
taxation. Sorry.
That's
Okay,
right.
yeah, that I
there's-
can wrap my head around.
There
but
are
why that
conservatives
specifically?
that demand that the Trump tax cuts that will be enacted
Mhm.
over the next decade, which will cost $5 trillion, be
Oh, so you have to cut
budget
everywhere.
neutral.
Oh, I see.
And it has to be budget neutral without cutting the military.
Since we
just
talked
gonna
about
have
ruler,
military.
can we go over ruler real quick? Just because it's quicker than
Yes.
the other
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I
Sleek, do you feel comfortable doing it?
it's like 5 sentences.
We're talking about
Yep.
the
Yeah.
Ruler system.
ruler system. Ruler is a social and emotional learning program that helps people develop emotional intelligence. Ruler is an acronym for the 5 skills of emotional intelligence. Recognize, identify emotions in yourself and others. Understand the causes and consequences of emotions. Label, use a nuanced vocabulary to describe emotions. Express emotions in a way that is appropriate for the situation. Regulate, use strategies to manage your emotions.
One second, sorry. It's
Everyone
why did
here
it
is
go there?
emo.
There we go. And there's the emotional chart that you can use to select how you're feeling and how you can move from, high energy to lower energy, unpleasant to more pleasant. Sorry.
Yep.
And then
So-
yeah, go for it.
Oh, go ahead. Okay. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique is one of the easiest mindfulness strategies designed for managing stress and anxiety, using the 5 senses to ground you in the present moment. So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And these don't have to be like specifically in that order of senses.
Right.
You can have 5 things you hear, 4 things you see, whatever. But it's designed to put you in a state of mind that takes the emphasis off of the stress.
And do the hearing, do the touching. My son was like spinning out because he had a bad grade, and I had him do the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we got to hear, and he said, "I can't hear anything." That's a sign of incredible stress, right? When everything goes quiet and you can't notice. But if you allow yourself to get to a point where you can hear again, and you do literally touch things, and you can notice your smells, you're getting back to a baseline.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, very cool.
Yep.
So yeah, let's leave it on the chart real quick.
Yep. Sorry.
Before you move
Marco.
on, can I say something that I found interesting about that? Last weekend I went to Vegas for my birthday, and I went to a French restaurant. That's one of those like
Yep.
they serve you the one course at a time, and it
What
was
are we
interesting.
learning?
Yeah, no, it's going places. Go ahead.
Well, and it was interesting because afterwards I realized that they spent time giving you essentially a piece of those senses, like each of those things, and it was so that you can, it kind of almost like it felt like it was centering you, like the fact that they had like things, they brought things to the table that smelled, multiple things that smelled, multiple tastes. Obviously, it's a restaurant. Sound. Basically, they provided these things in
What
order
is
for
this?
your
Progress.
senses to be kind
Oh
of
my god,
centered.
it's Sleek Carrot. What are we
I
learning
stress
today,
levels and
guys?
stuff.
What's
That-
going
that's
on in
right.
here? What's
That's right. And so,
What's the basis of today's discussions?
so the idea is, thank you, Baron. I can deal with them. We're about to play anyway. But okay. Yeah, exactly. The way that you experience something changes when you become aware of what's in front of you. You get out of being all up in your own head, and you start to make meaning out of the thing in front of you. That's why eating chips on the couch is so dangerous, right? You're watching, like,
You're getting your
YouTube flip by.
several senses tickled, you know.
Yeah, it's just, and it's over.
Marco,
I don't know what happened to that
sent you
bag
the
of
video
chips.
on Discord, by the way.
Oh, thank you. If we wanted to watch.
45.
Okay,
Yeah, let's
cool.
watch it.
1 second. Sorry, I'm having trouble getting to my Discord. Okay. Let's see. Paste.
Give us a full screen on this one.
Yep. 1 second. Just drag it right there. Minute 45, you said?
4:45. Yep.
Oh, 4 minutes and 45 seconds?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, sorry. Let's stop right there.
Want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't.
Why is it muted?
The volume is set low.
Down to it, they don't. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
Let me ask you about another group of people, the estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are
You're talking about separation?
Yeah, well, I mean, there are two aspects to this. Your border czar, Tom Homan, said they can be deported together. Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep those. Well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well, what you got to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find something out like, this doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful young woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job, and you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws, and in the end, look, our country is a mess.
Thanks for watching. Stay on.
Fucking monsters.
Okay, so Recruit, not only did he clearly say, yeah, if it's children, they have to go with their parents, even if they're here legally. But also, he's preemptively talking about how he's sure that there's going to be a woman that's being, they want them out, that's drug out crying, that's here legally. They want them out. Whoever they is not the people being deported, they're being drug out crying, right? So it's pretty clear that he was talking about a nice white woman with a Mexican man being drug out in the video of her crying, and that's what he knows is going to happen.